Welcome into the Thunder Basketball universe presented by COOP Ale Works. You might notice that Gallo and I are in a little bit of festive attire. I have very festive holiday earrings. Yes. Gallo, of course, in his festive Christmas plaid.
You can't see my Santa socks that I have on below the table, but I promise you they're there.
So just want to add a little bit of context for those that are watching on YouTube and are seeing this in person. We had our business holiday party today here in the corporate office.
Yeah, all of our content team got together. We exchanged presents and all sorts of stuff. It was a lot of fun. Good stuff. Our videographers, our social media team, everybody that helps create all of the content that you see on our social channels and at OKCThunder.com.
And it had a little secret Santa. It was a lot of fun. And later in the podcast, we're going to talk to our very own Vice President of Community Engagement, Christine Berney, because the Thunder right now is in the middle of Holiday Assist, which is a massive annual initiative to get out into the community and really, lend a hand in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, so we're certainly in the spirit around this place right now.
We're feeling it. But before we get into all of that, we're recording this on Thursday, December 16th. The Thunder just played its only game this business week.
Yes, yeah.
And that was against the Pelicans on Wednesday night. And what a wild finish that was. So we have got to go straight into that, Nick Gallo. Yeah. That final 6 seconds of that game. And you know what? We're just going to go into, you can say that again, because I think you'll be able to talk about it here.
That's right. This was a quote from Kenrich Williams, and he said, in a matter of seconds, you go from happy to wow.
And that pretty much sums up how that game ended.
That's right. The final 4 seconds of that game were completely insane. Mm-hmm. Shea, knowing that the Pelicans are going to try to foul him with the Thunder down by 3 to just avoid any type of potential tying shot on a 3, somehow uses this escape dribble. He, crab walks to the side, basically. He did this little side shuffle thing, pushed the ball out, and hoists a 3 while he's launching his body to the side. Somehow that splashes in, and the game is tied.
With 1.7 seconds left on the clock. Mind you, the Pelicans do not have a timeout. So in the arena, everything points towards this is going to go into overtime.
Right. The Thunder, by the way, had done an incredible job on defense, a possession earlier, forcing the Pelicans to take 2 timeouts in a row as they're trying to inbound the ball.
Right.
That means New Orleans has no timeout. And the Thunder's defending full court, but Devontae Graham throws up a Hail Mary of a shot that banks in off the glass and goes in from 61 feet behind half court, deep behind half court, basically at the three-point line.
Right. Yes, and sinks it. And completely, just the mood in the entire arena just shifts.
It was unbelievable. I mean, probably the most unbelievable, shocking finish to a game that you'll see in the NBA all season long. In fact, I think that we had heard post-game, there has been no NBA game in the last 25 years with 2 shots from 30 or more feet inside the final minute that were tying or go-ahead shots in the same game. And they happened in the same 5 seconds, basically. So everybody that was in that building, stunned, shocked. Obviously, Thunder fans, the players, all wish that they were on the flip side of that. But it just goes to show that in the NBA, anything can happen on any night. As we were talking about before the pod, it was a crazy night in the NBA. There was another buzzer beater, big-time games and performances all across the board. So, I just feel lucky to be in the building most nights, and that was another reason why.
Definitely, and you got to tip your cap to the Pelicans. I mean, what a crazy shot, crazy finish, but also the shot from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, that he's worked on that sidestep through. We've seen it a lot this season, but to that level, that took it to the next level for sure.
And that was after he'd already banked in a 3 earlier in the kind of comeback as OKC was trying to keep that close. So crazy finish.
Crazy finish, and yeah, just an emotional roller coaster on a Wednesday night inside of Paycom Center for sure.
But there were a lot of moments that kind of led up to that, Paris, and I think that maybe we can segue into you can share that again.
Yes. All right. Let's go into my quote here. This actually wasn't from after the Pelicans game. It was from practice on Tuesday, the day before. But it's a nice little segue.
It's a precursor, I
think. I think it's a nice precursor. And the quote is, Twitter is just Skittles everywhere.
That's right. The content team that we were talking about earlier did a great job putting together a video. You can find it on our at OKC Thunder social channels that took this quote from Mark Daigneault
Mm-hmm.
and put some video to it and gave it its proper context.
Definitely go check it out. But basically, the premise of why he said this, it was in a much, much longer quote. But he was asked about Trey Mann and the progress that he's seen from him on the offensive end. And the moral of it is you have to be able to eat your broccoli. The broccoli is, being scrappy on defense. Can you defend? Can you execute well? Can you play within the team in order to enjoy your Skittles, which are the high-flying, one-handed jam slam dunks that we've seen now 2 games in a row from Trey Mann, and just the nastiest crossovers that just steal all highlight reels everywhere.
The between the legs blow by lefty layup Thomas Sandoretsky is probably somewhere in Purcell right now with how far Trey Mann left him in his dust on that drive through the middle of the lane. But as you're saying, Paris, Trey's not on the floor to do those things unless he's putting in the work defensively, making the scrappy hustle plays, knocking down shots with the proper form, taking good shots, playing within the flow of the offense, doing all the things that he's supposed to be doing on the court.
He absolutely earned the minutes that he is getting because he was charged at the beginning of the season, earlier in this season rather, to, show that he can show up on the defensive end and be aggressive and, cause a lot of disruption on that end of the floor. He went to the G League with OKC Blue and did all of those things. He came back with this stretch with the Thunder, and we're seeing him dive on the floor for loose balls, chase down, opponents and steal the ball from behind and really cause a lot of disruption on that end of the floor, and sprinkle in some of these amazing highlight plays as well. So he's doing a really good job of playing within the flow of the offense, but also stepping up that defensive aggression.
Yeah, Mark Daigneault says he went down to the G League and did his homework. And that's what these guys are charged with doing is like, can you go down? Can you execute on these things that we're asking you to do? And if we see that you're taking that very seriously, you're going to get the opportunities when you come back to the Thunder. And he's absolutely done that. One other thing that he's done, which he told me, is like, I know that I'll probably make some mistakes because I'm a rookie, but I'm going to make them by being aggressive and confident and not by being timid and scared. And yes, Trey Mann did end up fouling out of that game against the Pelicans, but Mark said, I'd rather him foul out and play tough, strong, aggressive, physical defense than for him to be out there and not really putting his nose into plays. And so OKC was fine with that result. He ended with 9 points, but those highlight reel plays, they came alongside some of this broccoli that you've been talking about.
A little bit of broccoli, and that's the progress, and that's laying the foundation. One other quote that he had, it was also a contender for my You Can Say That Again, is, if you're remodeling a house, you don't just like put up drapes and paint the walls, I think. Yeah. He was like, you're going to build a sturdy foundation if you want to build a house. And so it just great one-liners, great quotes that just stick with you. Here's the other thing too. Broccoli versus Skittles, that's just a great life lesson too.
Yeah, for sure.
Just eat your broccoli before you can enjoy your Skittles.
I'm going to have to remember that.
Yeah, new dad. Absolutely. Okay. Also, one other thing before we get away from rookie Trey Mann, he wasn't the only one making his mark on the rim in this Wednesday game. He wasn't the only rookie making his mark on the rim. Aaron Wiggins stepped into his second start of the season in this game against the Pelicans. Now, Aaron has been obviously in and out of the rotation, two-way player, back and forth from the G League to the Thunder, and he stepped in, brought the athleticism and energy that he is just known for, and why he was picked to be a part of this team, and had a monster just put back. I think Shea missed the shot, and he just swooped in on the baseline out of nowhere, one-handed, and just threw it back through the cylinder.
Over top of a 7-footer, Jonas Valanciunas. And this was Aaron Wiggins' homework assignment. They had seen some really great progress and just frankly talent from him on the defensive side of the ball. They'd seen him knock down some open shots from 3, but they wanted to make sure that when Aaron played for the OKC Blue, he was showing a little bit more variety and the ability to play within the Thunder's team concept on offense and not just be a guy that's standing in the corner waiting for a shot to come to him from 3. Being able to have a little bit more of a balanced attack, understand when to be aggressive. We saw that. Something that the Thunder wings are being challenged to do is swoop in and help out on the offensive glass. As they're kind of coming from the corners back up through the middle of the floor to get back into transition defense. That's an opportunity to decide to duck in and try to get an offensive rebound or not. Aaron did that, and I think that's, a continued sign that the investment that the Thunder is putting into him is going to pay dividends.
And he didn't have, an outstanding, standout stat line, but it's the small incremental improvements. Also, the opportunity to start a game, never take that for granted. He didn't take that for granted, and he brought the energy, and that's really what the Thunder is looking for in these opportunities. Are you bringing the effort? Are you bringing the energy? And are you doing what is asked of you? And I think the answer was yes for Aaron in this opportunity. And, the more and more you stack those together, the more and more you see the improvement over time.
And he was assigned with guarding Devontae Graham for most of the beginning of that game. And Graham ended up shooting just, I think, 5 of 15 for the game, 5 of 14 maybe for the game. Including that 61-footer that what are you going to do about that one?
Yeah.
But great job by Aaron to, have to guard a guy at the point of attack like that. And that was something that the Thunder was also focused on when he went to the G League, which was they got him 2 games against the G League Ignite and Jaden Hardy, who is a big-time prospect, potential top 10 pick in this upcoming draft, and a guy that plays with the ball in his hands a lot, point of attack type of guy. That was another homework assignment for Aaron Wiggins. Go show that you can have this variety on offense while still guarding somebody of that caliber. And so stepping in place of Lou Dort, who was injured and out with that sprained ankle against the Pelicans. We're not sure how much longer he'll be out, but continuing to be evaluated. Great opportunity for Aaron to step in and, okay, let's take the test now.
And this is just a precursor for the rest of the season as well. There is going to be opportunities for all of these guys on this roster. If they haven't gotten it yet, which they have, really, everybody 1 through 17 has gotten some significant, meaningful minutes on the floor. It's about keeping tabs on those, because those are going to happen throughout the season at any point. Lou Dort went down, so Aaron Wiggins needed to step up.
Right.
I also think of Teo Maladone, who, Coach Dagnall pointed this out after the game. He played earlier that day with the OKC Blue, played about 30 minutes in that game, and then, needed him to sub in for 30 seconds in the first half of against the Pelicans, and he made a really, really strong play in those 30 seconds. It's just, and those are seconds that are being evaluated and watched.
30 seconds, and he gave the Thunder 3 points by fighting on the offensive glass, keeping the ball alive when he had no business keeping the ball alive against taller, bigger players down low. That helped the ball kind of squirt out of the pile and into Josh Giddey's hands, who kicked it out to Kenrich Williams in the corner for 3 right as the third quarter buzzer was sounding. Teo, earned a big slap on the behind from Mark Dagnall as he walked back to the bench. And, just Paris, you put it perfectly, because Teo has been continuing to keep this great positive attitude, invest in himself, take every single moment seriously. And this is going to come back around from him. It only was 30 seconds on Wednesday night against the Pelicans, but because of that investment, there's going to be more coming.
Absolutely. So keep an eye out on all of these guys, because this is going to be fun to watch over the course of an 82-game season.
No doubt.
Shall we go into Name That Dude?
Absolutely, we should. And my number here is 9 for 9.
Oh, that's Shea at the line.
That is Shea.
9 for 9, Shea at the line.
The Thunder was 19 for 19 at the free throw line in the game against the Pelicans. Shea, personally, 9 for 9. This is a continued expansion of what we've seen over the last week or two, as he's really amped up his production at the free throw line, vaulted himself kind of into that top 10 in the league in free throw attempts per game. That's where he needs to be in order to be an elite scorer and playmaker moving forward. That's just a huge part of any scorer's game, is getting to the stripe. What was extra special about this performance by the Thunder at the free throw line is that Wednesday night's game was a complete flip of what we've seen all season long in terms of free throw differential for the Thunder and its opponents. New Orleans, I think, had 36 free throw attempts in the game compared to the Thunder's 19. OKC came into the game with, I think, top 4 in fouls, top 4 in free throw attempts for the other team, and top 4 in free throw attempt differential. So that's been a strength for this team all season long. That got completely flipped in this game, Paris. The Thunder had just 1 free throw attempt in the first half, and that was on a defensive 3 seconds.
I know. And part of this goes in a couple different ways. I know Mark Dagnall was looking for some of those fouls to be called in that first half. But the other half of it, too, is, the Pelicans were, really strong defensively, and they know that the Thunder wants to get into the paint. And there was a lot of, help defense and obviously they have a big force down there in Jonas Valanciunas and just a lot of physicality in that game. And I remember asking Shea about this after the game. Like, was there anything, any talk in the locker room? Because you only had one free throw for the entire team in that first half. He's like, no, really didn't talk about it that much.
But they went out and executed on it, which was big.
And I think that speaks to, this is such a, part of the Thunder identity of attacking the paint, getting downhill, and whatever comes of that, that's the benefit of getting to the paint and getting downhill. So, free throws come from getting downhill, kick out threes come from getting downhill, layups, obviously. And so it's just a matter of making sure that you keep doing those things consistently. And these outlier things always come back down to earth whenever you stick with something.
And the reason I, pointed out the perfection aspect of it is because despite the massive differential, minus 15 in terms of free throw attempts, the Thunder was actually only -5 in free throw makes in the game.
Because they were perfect.
And when you go to the line and you knock them down, that margin of error just becomes bigger for you as a team, and it becomes smaller for the opposing team.
Exactly. And I want to go into my name that dude now, because I think this kind of transitions. It's a weird segue, but it will. I promise. It'll come back to this.
All right.
So my name that dude is 17 points, 5 of 6 from the 3-point line.
Kenrich Williams.
Kenny Hustle, K-Rich, stepped off the bench, and he's known for a lot of things, right?
Yep.
His name is Kenny Hustle. So you expect the energy. You expect the second chance points. You expect the offensive rebounds, the diving on the loose ball, and, getting those 50-50 balls. He was 5 for 6 from the 3-point line. Yeah. He was the beneficiary of a lot of those second chance opportunities for the Thunder.
Darius Baisley diving on the floor for a loose ball in the fourth quarter, ends up in Kenrich's hands for 3. Yeah, I mean, big time plays that Kenrich is usually the one making, but he's the one capping him off this time.
And it just made me smile seeing this, because, and after the game, he was like, it was really nice to see, especially when all your guys are diving on the floor and showing those hustle plays, that energy comes back to you. And it was like, yes, it came back to you. It sure did. Knocking down those 3-pointers.
And it's just a continuation of Kenrich's growth, development, and the fact that when he came to Oklahoma City, his career, for who knows why, these alchemical reasons of just being in the right place at the right time and connecting with the staff and the rest of the team and the organization. But like last season, he shot 44.4% from 3. That's the best any player's ever shot from 3 off the bench in Thunder history. Mm-hmm. This year, he's back up to 42.5% from 3. Again, I mean, these are like marks that are going to vault you into the top 10, 15 in the entire NBA in 3-point shooting. And this is a guy whose nickname is Kenny Hustle. That's not the first thing that you're going to be thinking about when you have that as your nickname. You're going to be thinking about all these other things that you described.
Right.
This is a 3-and-D player for the Thunder that they've crafted out of seemingly not much, as an undrafted player.
An invaluable player for this team. 2 things about Kenrich. 1, he earned the name Kenny Hustle because of how hard he works. In anything that's defensively, that's diving on the floor for loose balls, that's also in practice.
In the offseason.
He is going to give 100% in literally any situation. It doesn't matter if it's the, last 5 minutes, garbage time of a game, or if it's in practice with all of the other low-minute players, playing a little game of 3-on-3, or if the game is on the line and the team needs a bucket, you're going to get the same Kenrich every single time. So it's really not surprising that he would have this level of consistency from the 3-point line from A, the effort that he puts into his game in the offseason, and B, his level of consistency every time he steps on the floor.
He's an amazing person just to have in the organization, to be around. Like, his professionalism, his just matter-of-factness and like chillness is awesome too. So anyway, Kenny Hustle, K-Rich, thanks for being you, man.
Appreciate you. And so here's this little weird segue back to your stat.
Okay.
Kenrich was not the only person to score 15 or more points off the bench.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going here.
There were two guys that stepped up big time, and the other one was another really consistent force off the bench for the Thunder. Mike Muscala, steady muskie.
Another big-time three-point shooter.
Another big-time three-point shooter. He had 16, but 6 of those came from the free throw line.
On back-to-back possessions.
Back-to-back, fouled on the 3. So 6 free throws in a matter of 2 possessions for Mike Muscala.
That was incredible. And it was a game-changing sequence because the Thunder was trying to keep this within a 1-possession game. New Orleans kept pushing the lead back out to 4 or 5 or 6, something like that. And Muscala getting fouled on those threes, basically in the same spot on the floor twice in a row.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, that was incredible. And it just helped kind of set a pause and a reset on the game. And, we talked at the very top about this one not going the Thunder's way, but this game could have ended in a 5-point loss for the Thunder, and just they didn't quite have enough down the stretch, didn't make enough plays. But the reason this game is going to be so memorable for this whole season is because of the way that it ended, and it might not have had the opportunity to even end that way. We might not have even had the chance to see Shea hit that ridiculous, crazy sidestepping 3 if not for some of these things that we've outlined so far in the show. Trey Mann, Aaron Wiggins, Kenrich Williams, Mike Muscala. That's why all of these moments matter so much.
Yes, and Kenrich, Mike, part of the Thunder second unit, 52 points in the night, which ties for the second most this season by the Thunder. And it really took everybody. And I'm even going to point out Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, who was the third person. There are only 3 Thunder players that got to the free throw line in this game, and that was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Mike Muscala, and Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, who went 4 for 4. And obviously not in the starting lineup, but still bringing the effort, bringing the energy. He had to go up against Jonas Valanciunas. That is a tough assignment for anybody. And so it really took everybody on this Thunder roster, 1 through 17, every person that played, to bring the energy and not let anything dip at any point.
And that's why the Thunder had a 52-26 double-up advantage on the New Orleans Pelicans bench in the game.
Exactly. So a wild finish, but also a really... there was a lot happening in this game on the Thunder side, and I'm glad we got to touch on all of it because truly there was just a lot of moving pieces and some really bright spots in this game despite how it ended for the Thunder.
Seeing that we only had one game in the middle of the week, we normally podcast twice in 1 week. You wonder going into your Thursday pod, how much are we going to have to talk about after one game? Well, it just goes to show you again, Wednesday night, Pelicans Thunder in December. You never know what might happen.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't worry, though. We got you covered if you ever miss anything. You know where to come. OKCThunder.com or TBU. Of course, we got you covered.
No doubt.
We're going to take a short break here. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
COOP Ale Works is the proud sponsor of Thunder Basketball Universe. Brewers of the fan favorites F5 IPA and 99-calorie Ice Chest IPA. You'll find those and many more COOP beers at retailers across Oklahoma. Learn more at CoopAleWorks.com.
It is now that point in the podcast where we want to bless your timeline, and just in keeping with the theme of all of the things that were happening on Wednesday night, it started before the tip-off even began with walk-ins. Me and Gallo, we were looking at the monitors, noticed something a little strange before the team took the court.
Trey Mann was wearing a little bit too much red, and then I started to dig a little deep. I watched a little closer. He was wearing University of Maryland hat, a red Maryland shirt, some red shoes, and then I noticed his gray sweatsuit. That had all Maryland Terrapins gear on it too. And then it hit me. His rookie teammate, Aaron Wiggins, went to the University of Maryland. Maryland and Florida recently played a basketball game on Sunday night, actually, the same time that
Trey
the Thunder
Mann,
was playing.
A former Florida Gator.
Right. And so the 70-68 Terrapins win the upset over Florida. There was a bet that clearly was being paid out on walk-ins.
And what just the icing on the cake was Aaron Wiggins' Instagram story afterwards.
You know that Aaron had to have gotten to the game extra early to make sure that he could
just
be there.
Sitting in his locker, waiting for Trey to walk in. Said, "You look good, man." So that was really, really funny to see.
And our at OKC Thunder social team did a great job of capturing that, like jumping on the moment, being there, and being nimble enough, quick enough to recognize that and have some fun with it, and loop in Aaron's Instagram post as well.
Yeah, and then those two went off and rocked the rim that night too.
Both played huge factors in the game, and in fact, at one point, the lineup that was out there was Shea with 4 rookies on the floor at the same time, and I just thought, man, this is the future. I mean, who knows which of these guys end up long-term, like being a part of the next great Thunder team, but like here's the foundation being laid, and they have a great rapport on the court and off the court too.
Having a lot of fun on both sides. That's amazing. It was really funny to see. If you haven't seen it, go check out. I think it might still be up.
I think so.
Maybe, maybe not.
Time, yeah.
It's really, really funny. Go to OKCThunder.com. Sorry, at OKC Thunder social channels.
Yeah,
go
check out Aaron Wiggins' stories too on Twitter and Instagram. He might keep those up too.
There you go. Well, we also have one special segment of this podcast. We mentioned it off the top. The Thunder is in the middle of its annual Holiday Assist Initiative. We're clearly in the holiday spirit. And so we were joined by a very, very special guest, Vice President of Community Engagement, Christine Berney, joined us on the podcast to talk about all of the amazing things happening during Holiday Assist for the Thunder this season. Here's that interview. As you can see, we have a special guest with us today, and that is Vice President of Community Engagement, Christine Berney. And this isn't her first time on the podcast, but the first time in the new season. So, Berney, we are so happy to welcome you into our studio.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be in your studio. It's fabulous.
You had no idea that this was just around the corner from your
office. I really didn't.
And,
I didn't. I came around the corner. I was like, what is happening here?
Well, we had to bring Berney on the podcast because we are right in the middle of holiday season, which means the kickoff, and that means we're right in the middle of Holiday Assist, which is an annual tradition for the Thunder. A lot of incredible stuff happening in the community, and Berney is the head honcho of all of that. Her and her amazing team. There have already been so many great just activities and activations around the community. Berney, just how are you feeling right now? How's this time of year for you and your team?
There's a lot of caffeine going on in the community engagement team. A lot of Starbucks gift cards and things passing around, but we're having so much fun. It's always exhausting in the best possible way. I mean, it's just the events are so great to put together, and it's so wonderful to see when you're in the middle of them and then watch the recap of them. It's a very heartwarming time of year.
We've featured a few of them on our Bally Sports Oklahoma game broadcasts, and one that I wanted to ask you about was just seeing Rumble handing out books and shoes and toys. Will you tell us about that event?
Yes, at the
Homeless Alliance.
Yes, at the Homeless Alliance. I was trying to, because he was also handing out things at an elementary school. Rumble's been all over the place.
He's
Rumble
been
is a very busy.
He was at Homeland recently as well.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, which Rumble appearance are you talking about?
And at every home game.
Yes.
So very busy calendar.
I know. Yes, no, the Homeless Alliance, we worked with them this year for a really special activation. They're a wonderful community partner, and a lot of people don't know that they work not only with people who are currently what they would call homeless or street homeless or living in shelters, but they also help people, almost more importantly, get back into stable housing. And so we partnered with them this year. They have a wish list for, it's over 400 families strong, of families that are going into their first house or apartment or, stable housing environment for the holiday season. And so we had Rumble give a special delivery to one family, 2 little boys and a mom, and it was super fun. And one of the little ones was a little worried about Rumble at first, but Rumble made it his mission to win him over, and by the end they were besties.
That's his specialty. I mean, I know you can be a little intimidated by all the fur that's popping out.
It's a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. But Berney, I think back to last year, and obviously last year was crazy for everybody. And in the NBA, it was a shortened 72-game season. But I remember we talked to you, and you guys were still doing stuff in the middle of COVID, and it just, I think back to it now, and I'm like, that's incredible that you guys were able to get out still into the community in the middle of a pandemic and still help make a difference, when probably it was the most pivotal year to keep doing holiday assists.
It was really important that we not let up on our holiday work last year, especially. I mean, every year there's an incredible amount of need, but last year with COVID on top of everything else, we just knew that we couldn't say, sorry, COVID, gotta catch you next year. So we ended up moving, as you know, every event that we did outdoors.
Right.
And we actually kept a lot of that this year because it worked really well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking back to the first all-team event in a matter of 2 years, and it was a drive-through Homeland event that, that kind of format started last year.
It did, yes. And so, we figured why change up a good thing? It worked really well. I mean, we're still, unfortunately, not out of the woods with COVID.
Right.
So we're always being super, super cautious with our players and fans and staff. And we just thought, that worked last year. So let's do it again this year.
The player event, we just haven't had the chance to talk to you about that because it's been so difficult to have player engagement over the last nearly 2 years, and so to be able to have that, I personally sense, having gone to hundreds and hundreds of Thunder community events over the course of my tenure here.
Bless you.
There was there was a renewed feeling in the air among the staff, among the players. Besides a practice or a game, it's very rare that you're going to get all 17 players in one place. And especially in a situation like that where they're able to touch people's lives right around Thanksgiving.
Exactly. It really ramps up the volume, turns up the volume when you've got players in the mix. And that makes it even more special. I mean, they bring so much energy, so much fun. You can tell the camaraderie that the team has. We love to see from a community engagement side, their engagement with the people that they're, coming across, and the organizations learning about Restore OKC and the marketplace at East Point. And, it's fun for them to get out, hopefully, and see these new places and learn about these new organizations. And then they just bring so much fun and energy to an event. I mean, you can't hold them down.
You talk about fun and energy. Darius Baisley was on the
drums.
drums.
I know.
And the one thing that I keep thinking about, especially this year, the first all-team event in a matter of 2 years, and the majority of those guys, this was their first opportunity to meet their community.
Yeah.
And really be able to engage face-to-face just because of the pandemic and obviously last season. And so that kind of added a little extra specialness to that one, didn't it?
Yeah, it did for everybody. I mean, it added an extra, level of nervousness as well for all of us because, we haven't done this in 2 years.
Sure.
But you could really tell that the players were excited to be, off the court, out of the gym, and in a parking lot handing out, turkey dinners. It was a super fun event.
I want to zoom out a little bit because, as we've seen over the last couple years, the amount of momentum that has been built by you and your staff over the course of time behind Holiday Assist is what it allowed the organization to actually have the Holiday Assist program the last couple years. And I think back to the very first year in Oklahoma City when you all were setting up the community engagement department and trying to initiate. I mean, so many people out there I know, wish that they could do something for their community, but starting it is the hardest part. As you were setting up the department, as the team moved to Oklahoma City, as you're coming up with the Holiday Assist program, where is that coming from? How are you initiating it? What goes into that initial spark that has to happen to even be able to build the momentum so that over a decade later, you can still have a program that exists during a pandemic,
Right. Yeah. Wow. That is zooming out.
It is.
Gala.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
That is a big picture.
You didn't know you were going to come around the corner from your office and get the hard-hitting questions.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, it's super cool because, one of the things at any time of year, but especially during the holidays, that I think my staff our staff would say the same thing. We have a hard time zooming out because it's so, we've got 400 turkey dinner to give away, and we've got, like a team of 17 players and all these things. And so thank you for asking
Sure.
that question, because that, it definitely makes me think. The things that I would point to thinking about that, and I've been so lucky to have the longevity of our community engagement team.
Right.
Two of the women on the team, Jennifer Watson and Debbie, have been with us from the beginning. So that's been super special. That doesn't happen all the time, and everybody else feels like they've been there forever in a great way. So. But we really tried with whatever we were doing, whether it was Holiday Assist or whether it was the book bus or the reading challenge or, a basketball camp at the Boys and Girls Club. We tried really hard to take our cues from the community rather than sort of giving them something that they may not necessarily need or want.
Right.
The flip side of that's difficult, is you can't do it all. There
Right.
is so much need and there is so much interest that you can't say yes to everything. But we really tried to, find community partners and find pockets of, folks that we could work with that were just embedded in the community, because we were a brand new team and we were getting to know the community on that level. And so we reached out to, the Oklahoma City Public Schools to start with. And, things just kind of grew in a very organic way from there. We knew that it was important to us to start, to focus on education and fitness. I think when the first Holiday Assist season came along, it was really my first realization that we could also make an impact in the community in a sense, in the way that a great organization like United Way does. With, there is a lot of need in this community, and that we could have, by partnering with those agencies, we could help. We could shine a light on what they're doing. We could help some of their clients. So that opened a whole new bag of tricks for what we could be doing and building on.
I have to imagine too, it has to be super special. I'm thinking of the decade, right? Like that is.
I know you said that, Gal, and I'm like, it's been a
that's
decade.
a long amount of time.
Yes,
and when you start at year one and you're continuing to do stuff every year, I think of the tradition at Positive Tomorrows or the amount of Homeland giveaways, or even the Boys and Girls Club. You start to see where you started at the Boys and Girls Club 10 years ago. Now some of these kids have kids of their own, and you get to see that in real time. That has to be super special.
It is super special. It also reminds you of your own age.
Oops.
In a not so special way, but no, actually, you said the Boys and Girls Club, and Mr. AJ, who all of us know and love from the work that we've all done at the Boys
AJ
and Girls
Johnson,
Club.
big shout out to you.
Woo!
You're the man.
He is. His daughter, who was not even as tall as this table when we first started working with them, just graduated from college.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
So it's wonderful to be able to work with organizations for that long and to develop those relationships and to see them grow. I mean, you mentioned Positive Tomorrows. They're in an entirely new building. They have a whole new school.
Right.
They're, light years from where they used to be.
Right.
And then every year we've also tried to reach new pockets of the community, not just in Oklahoma City, but, looking at Tulsa, where we build our basketball courts all over the state, just trying to widen the scope whenever we can.
Speaking of that, you have something coming up tomorrow. We're recording this on Thursday. We're probably going to post this Friday morning. You've got something Friday
I'll be on the
afternoon.
road.
Exactly. So tell us what you have cooking up in Tulsa.
Yeah. So last year was the first time that we did a Holiday Assist big event up in Tulsa. And this year we're up there again, which is super exciting. And we're working with Youth Services of Tulsa. They're part of the larger Youth Services of Oklahoma organization. They do a lot of wonderful work with at-risk youth in the state, and obviously Youth Services of Tulsa focuses on the kids in Tulsa. A number of programs. They have counseling services. They have career advice. The one that when we talk to them and ask sort of like, what can we help with? What's still a remaining need for you? They pointed to a program that helps their recently homeless youth get into their first apartment.
Wow.
And so we are literally right now, probably if we look out that window, you can see the rest of the community engagement team loading the van and the truck with tubs of apartment supplies, like all the stuff you would think, oh, I'll just go to Walmart and get this when I move in. Well, those kids don't have the ability to do that. They don't have the money to do that. So we're providing them with, the youth services gave us a list, and we're fulfilling all those lists with mops and brooms and dish soap and then of course we have to throw in some fun stuff too. So I think we got like some dish towels and maybe some Thunder swag and stuff like that. But just the basics that most of us take for granted, that think like, oh, I'll just run up to the store and pick this up. That's not a reality for most of the kids who are going to be moving into their first apartment. Right. So we'll be delivering those tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, all of us who are in very, very privileged situations to be able to work for the team, work for the organization, we sometimes don't find time in the day to be able to go and do some of those types of things. And I think about this with the Thunder Fellows program and some of all of these things that we do. It's bringing the opportunities to these kids, helping provide these things to people that just eases that burden a little bit to help them get day by day to what they need.
Exactly. And it's very it's very humbling work, and I'm so grateful to be able to do it, and our whole team is so grateful to be part of it.
And we love being able to cover it just on our side, just seeing it's not just seeing like the work that you guys do, but seeing the reactions and seeing how excited a lot of these folks are, just feeling special that the Thunder is there, to help and lend a hand as well. That is really, really special. And so great work as always. We'll keep an eye out. Be safe on that turnpike tomorrow.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to have a little community engagement caravan going up there tomorrow.
And be sure to check out our at OKC Thunder social channels, the at Thunder Cares social channels as well, because our photographers, our videographers, they capture all of these priceless moments. It's usually the stuff that we then turn around and talk about when we bless your timeline on this podcast. So definitely be sure to check that out so you get a little sneak preview.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And Berney, thank you so much for joining our podcast to talk a little holiday assist.
Thank
we
you
appreciate it
so much for having me.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Christine.
Before we let you go, we have to let you know what's on tap for this team before we podcast next. And the Thunder wrapping up its very nice, prolonged 4-game homestand. This has been so great. Just being home Monday through Friday. What?
Yeah, glorious.
It's been amazing. So that game is going to be on Saturday against the Clippers. Second time this season that these two teams have met. So that'll be a really good one. Keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah, that first game out in LA was fantastic. The Thunder just barely came up short in that one. They were in control for most of it. And then the Clippers just turned on the juice in the last few minutes. But very competitive in that game. So should be exciting to see another one of those matchups coming up. On Friday, right before that game, the Oklahoma City Blue plays at Paycom Center. That's a night game against the Stockton Kings. The Blue beat the Kings on Wednesday afternoon, noon tip-off game. That was the one that we said that Teo Maladon played 30 minutes in. Alexei Pokashevsky and Isaiah Roby also were on assignment in that game. It was a 20-point win for the Blue over Stockton. They play the Kings again on Friday, and that game will really determine whether the Blue makes it into that top 8 for the G League Showcase out in Vegas. So, if you're interested in seeing some of these young guys and continue to watch their growth and development, definitely either come down to Paycom Center or tune into that one.
If you haven't picked it up by now, those Blue games are a really good resource if you want to keep track of some of these young guys. Teo Maladon, Isaiah Roby, Aaron Wiggins, Paul Watson. I mean, these guys have all had their moments down there with the Blue. Alexei Pokashevsky was
Trey
with
Mann
the Blue.
came back a completely different player after going to the Blue. So these are great opportunities to see them out and running for 27, 30, 32 minutes.
Exactly. You might also hear a familiar voice if you're watching that, streaming that broadcast as well. Our very own Nick Gallo doing a great job covering the Blue as well this season. And before we podcast, we also have one more game, and that's going to be an away game against the Grizzlies on Monday. That's going to be on the 20th. Second run against the Grizzlies at the Grizzlies again.
Right.
So keep an eye on that one.
We'll be shipping off to Memphis.
Yep.
Home state of one Paris Lawson. So, that'll be nice. A little taste of Tennessee right before the holidays truly kick in.
Yep. Really just feeling like home. But that is all for today's podcast. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. If you're not watching on YouTube, be sure to go check us out there as well. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop. And until next time, Thunder up and catch you later.